Danny here from the Magic Junk Drawer. So I have gotten similar emails. I was even contacted by somebody on Instagram, basically with the same type of story. Bottom line being that they are very brokenhearted about something that has gone on in their life. And they all happen to be women, and it all has to do with a man. So this way it's just easy for me to just tell the story. These emails come across, and I'm not saying this to sound rude. I mean, we've all been in this situation before, but they come across as extremely desperate, begging, pleading, looking for help. There is nothing that anybody is going to be able to do for you when you feel like that. Nothing. There is nothing that anyone is going to be able to do for you. People that are saying things like talking about being depressed and not eating and contemplating suicide, if you are really feeling these thoughts, then my suggestion would be really to see somebody who's a professional in that field, because I'm not qualified to deal with that kind of stuff. But not even just that. Nobody, okay, no matter what happens with anybody in this world, should make you feel like you don't want to live anymore just because somebody has let you down or broke your heart. Heartbreak is part of life. We've all been through it. There is nothing that anyone else is going to be able to do for you. So you have two choices. You can cry it out and throw a tantrum and break things and act crazy until you get it all out of your system. Because you'll get it out of your system. It's an emotion. It just needs to be vented. Or you can try to look at the situation logically. And the logical thing is, this person, no matter who they are, is not the only person in the world. There are so many people in this world that can treat you right, step up to the plate and do the right thing. That crying over somebody and acting desperate over something and begging people is just not going to help. There is nothing that anyone is going to be able to do for you. Now, we can perform spells, we can do astrology charts, we can do tarot readings. Nothing is going to work if you're in that negative of a state. Nothing. Nobody comes back to the person that's begging, pleading, crying, and, holding a torch for them. It just doesn't happen. Every time you've ever heard the situation where somebody has come back, or if somebody has come back into your life, 9 times out of 10, it's when the person has moved on. It happens all the time. It's happened to me a million times. Once my life moved forward, the last idiot came back. It's happened to me a million times. So what I'm saying is that you have to take charge of your emotions. And if you're not controlling your emotions, that's why you're being controlled by everything else. So when it comes to the law of attraction, now I can help you with the law of attraction. I can help you with tarot cards. We can do spells. We can do all that. But you have to believe in it. And if you don't believe in it, none of it's going to work. It's going to be wasted time, energy, and money. That's what's it's going to be, because you can't put energy into something and not believe in it. It's like going to the gym for 2 hours and then going home and eating a cheesecake. It negates it. It doesn't work. You can't say, well, I'm going to do a spell and I'm going to stay positive for 3 minutes and then spend the rest of the time crying about it. It's just not going to work. They cancel each other out. It's one step up, one step down. So my suggestion is, you've got to find something that you enjoy doing. I don't have a lot of friends either. I mean, you don't have to have friends. You can go to a local spiritual group, something that's free if you don't have money. I used to go to yoga all the time, and I went by myself, and I wasn't there making friends. I was going there. You want me to be honest? I'll be honest, before I became a yoga teacher and I was going to yoga, it was the only time where I felt like people weren't going to ask me to leave or didn't want me around because I was a paying customer. So I felt like as long as I was paying, I could be here. And I felt like I was no trouble to anybody if I just came in and I left and I didn't bother anybody in between. And for the hour that I was on my mat, it was the only time like I felt like I was a fucking human being. And that is the God's honest truth. That's how I felt. So I understand how you feel, but you have to find something to do that's constructive, because begging and pleading and, reaching out to people and keep getting kicked in the face, this is going to keep happening to you. If somebody is telling you that they don't want to be with you, this is what the law of attraction says. Ignore the reality. Do not let it upset you and do not react to the situation. You have to ignore what is being presented in front of you and believe in your heart and your mind, in your soul, that you are going to be with this person. Throwing a fit, yelling at them, cursing them out, none of that is going to help, because negativity brings more negativity. So the best thing that I would tell anybody that's in this situation, I would say, find something to do that you can channel your energy, where you're not sitting around crying about this person, thinking about this person, or contacting them and begging them or telling them off, because none of that works. I've done it in the past. I've done it. I can't even tell you. I mean, I've had situations before. I mean, I told you about the guy that ran off to Europe. I was brokenhearted, but no matter how I was going to yell, beg, scream, or beg and plead with him, he was going and he went. There was nothing that I could have done to stop him. And he came back. And what happened when he came back? He learned something about that girl that he had not previously known in all the years that he met her, and it ended their relationship. So sometimes you have to go through this. Sometimes it is part of the road. But what happens if you were to meet somebody tomorrow who is wonderful? You would forget all about this guy and your life would move on. So what I'm trying to say is that I'm not saying that you have to go out and start dating, or you have to do online dating, or you got to do any of that shit. I'm just saying that you have to take yourself out of the situation and find a constructive way to channel this, because sitting around and crying over it or writing him emails or begging him is not going to help. It's not going to help. And we can sit around and talk about how we don't have any money and we don't have any friends and we don't have any of this. We're all in the same boat, right? Because when push comes to shove and you really need somebody, most of the time people are unavailable. Even if they want to be, a lot of times they're just not available. So you have to have one person that you depend on, and that person is yourself. You cannot rely on somebody else to make you happy. You cannot put your happiness on someone else. It's the same thing. Like when I was talking about the money earlier, it doesn't have to even be money. It's anything. It's love. It's jobs. It's anything that you want more of in your life. If you're trying to hold on to it desperately, and that's what I said. I said, money just slips through my fingers. If you're trying to hold on to it desperately, it's going to disappear. Nobody wants to be held on to like that. Imagine, right? Imagine if somebody had reached out to you and said these things to you. If somebody reached out to you, and I used this example a while back. I had somebody contact me, and their email was, I just want you to get rid of any other woman that's around him. I just need him to call me, text me, and FaceTime me every day. That's what the email said. Now imagine if I said to you, I just don't want any other people around you. Nobody else around you. And I'm going to need you to text me, call me, and FaceTime me every day. How would you feel? You would feel like, what am I here to? My world revolves around you. Am I here to serve you? I'm here to be at your every beck and call. That's the fastest way to push somebody away. It's the fastest way. So, where I'm going with this is, you've got to take a moment and let this go. Let that person go. Let them do what they're doing and get on with your life in some kind of a way that is positive, because positivity brings in positivity. You know, like any of these, if you ever watch any of these shows where famous people talk about, I saw the show Happy Days. What was the mother's name? Mrs. Cunningham. I don't remember, but Marion Ross, I think, was the actress's name. And she said that when she got into the business, she was already married. She said that she was told, "You're never going to make it in this business unless you sleep around." And she was like, "That's not true. I'm going to make it because I'm good. I know what I'm doing. I'm a married woman. I'm not putting myself in that position." And she said that she had been approached a couple of times and she put her foot down. And let me tell you something, she got the job anyway. And that was that show was a huge hit. And she didn't have to compromise her beliefs or back down to anyone. She knew in her heart that she was a good actress, she was capable of playing the part, and she was not going to manipulate her beliefs or what was important to her for anything. So it's the same thing. You've got to know what your worth is and not let somebody else be able to take away your happiness because they told you something that you didn't want to hear. Things change. Like I said, my guy went to Europe, he came back, and when he came back, I'm going to say, I think that was in 2008. And we continued to date until I think it was either 2011 or 2012. So he came back. And I heard, "I don't ever want to talk to you again. I'm never going to see you again. Don't expect to ever hear from me again." I heard all that too. But things changed. So what's going on right now may not be the end of the story. But the longer you wallow in it and talk about it and harp on it, the longer it's going to take. You have to take responsibility for your own happiness. There are other things that you can do where you don't need money and you don't need friends. You can go to a temple, a synagogue, a library. You can go to a volunteer somewhere, an animal rescue. There are a million things that you can do that don't cost money if you don't have it. And you don't need anyone else to do it. You could go yourself. To open up the doors, to give yourself something to do, to change the energy of the situation. Because harping on it and staying in a dark place is not going to get you out of it. You can't rely on me or anyone else to do something to help you and put you in a different place. Nobody else can do anything for you. It's only you. The only other thing that I would say is if that you're really in that bad of a place and you need to talk to a professional, that could help, but that's something totally different. Speaking to a professional as to why you're feeling this bad. You know what I'm saying? If you've been struggling back and forth with somebody and they haven't been giving you what you want, it's not really, it's not like you haven't been getting what you want all this time. So you had to know that this is how things were going. Now, whether or not somebody comes back or not, they can come back. Things can change. They change all the time. But that's not what this is about. What happens in the future is what happens in the future. It's what's happening right now. And like I said, I've gotten more than one email, like a lot of emails from people in the same position. And it comes off as very desperate, and desperation breeds desperation. Nothing good ever comes out of somebody acting desperate. Never. It doesn't happen. Like there's never a time where somebody says, "I was desperate, so I did whatever and I was successful." It's just, I did it out of desperation, and then they're usually sorry for it. So find something that's constructive. Find something that, is open to the public. Finds anything. It can, like I said, a library. A lot of yoga studios will offer a work study program. We have it in our studio. You work a few hours at the front desk, you clean the studio, you get to go to yoga for free. Not only is it a great way for you to be able to do yoga for free, but because you're working at the front desk, you usually get to meet everyone and learn everybody by name. So it becomes much more of a homey place for somebody, rather than, you're there, you learn everyone's name, rather than someone who just comes in and goes out like a regular student. Like you really become more of a part of the community, and you'll also get to know the teachers. So that would be my suggestion, to find something like that you can do that wouldn't cost any money, just to get yourself out of this moment, because it will pass, but you can't sit and wallow in it, because that's not going to help. It's okay to spend a day crying. It's okay to spend 3 days crying, but you have to get out of this desperate kind of a feeling, because you're not going to move forward if you don't. And in order for the law of attraction to work, like attracts like, wallowing in heartbreak is going to bring more heartbreak. So you want to ignore the situation, because the truth of the matter is that things change every day. I mean, like I said, my guy went to Europe. I think it was like 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and then he was back. So it's not, 3 or 4 weeks is a long time while you're living it, but when you look back on it, you're like, yeah, it's not really that big of a deal. He did it to me one time before. Before that, he did something stupid. I don't remember exactly all the details, but he did something stupid and he was arrested. And he had a court date. It was like, it was the beginning of December was the court date. And I remember texting him a question, and it was like December 1st. I remember the dates. And whatever I texted him, and he answered me back, he was like, listen, I just can't talk to you right now. Please don't contact me. I'll contact you when I want to talk to you. Once again, I was devastated. And I didn't hear from him until the very end of January. So I went through all of December, all of January, I didn't speak to him. And then I spoke to him in January, and our relationship resumed at the end of January. So listen, people say a lot of things and they don't mean it forever. So my suggestion would be to keep in mind that anything can change. Nothing is forever, and to take care of yourself first, because if you don't, it's going to be very hard to get the ball rolling in the other direction. You know, it's like getting on the scale and seeing that you gained 5 pounds. Okay, 5 pounds is no big deal. But if you don't get on the scale and then the next time you do, you've already gained 50 pounds, now you got a problem. Right? So it's the same thing when it comes to this kind of stuff. You have to nip it right in the bud and not let it get out of hand. You don't want to be crying over somebody for the next 2 years. And I say that because it happened to one of my friends. Somebody broke up with her, and she was literally in bed for 2 years. She did not go to work. She didn't go to school. She did nothing. She maybe went out drinking every now and again. But do you want to waste 2 years of your life? Because if she looks back on it now, for what? For what? She didn't want to end up with him anyway. So what was she so upset about? She doesn't even know, and she would tell you that if she was sitting here right now. She would say to you, I didn't even want to end up with him. I don't know why I was so upset for so long. I mean, she said it to me before. So, and her life moved on. It took a long time because she wallowed in it. She didn't date anyone for a really long time, but eventually she met someone and she got married, and that was the end of the story. So, you know, if you think that you're alone and going through this, you're not. Everyone has. So I hope that helps. I hope that you can find an activity or an outlet that's positive, and that's it. I will see you guys soon. Thanks for